Imagine winning $245 million in the Powerball. You hire the most trusted lottery lawyer in the country to protect every single dollar. And then, one day, you find out that the man you trusted most had been quietly funneling your fortune into a mob-connected scheme. What happened to the winner and what happened to the lawyer is one of the most shocking stories in lottery history. The life before. To understand this story, you first need to understand Jason Kurland. He wasn't some shady guy operating out of a back office. He was a polished, well-dressed attorney based in Dix Hills, Long Island, New York, a partner at the prestigious law firm Rivkin Radler. He had a reputation, a business card, and a brand. He called himself the Lottery Lawyer. And for a while, that name meant something. By 2018, Kurland had built a national practice representing lottery winners with combined jackpots totaling nearly $3 billion. He charged between $75,000 and $200,000 up front just to take on a client. He was pulling in roughly $500,000 a year. He appeared in news segments, gave interviews, and positioned himself as the one person every jackpot winner needed in their corner. He was the guy who would protect you from all the bad decisions that destroy lottery winners. The irony of what came next is almost too dark to believe. Because behind the professional image, Kurland had already made contact with people who had nothing to do with law and everything to do with organized crime. The change. In 2018, a Powerball jackpot hit $245 million. Someone won it. Their name was never made public. Lottery winners in many states can remain anonymous. But what we know is that they hired Jason Kurland to manage their financial future. They weren't the only ones. Around the same time, Kurland was also representing the winner of a $1.5 billion Mega Millions jackpot out of South Carolina and the winner of a $150 million Powerball. Three of the biggest lottery winners in recent American history, all trusting the same man with their money. Kurland had quietly entered into a secret arrangement with two men. Francis Smukler, a former securities broker with a troubled financial history, and Francesco Russo. Together, they had connections that went far beyond bad investments. Federal prosecutors described the operation as mob-connected. One of the co-defendants, Christopher Ciarcio, was identified as a soldier with ties to both the Gambino and Genovese crime families in New York. The plan was simple and ruthless. Kurland would steer his lottery winner clients into investments, businesses that Smukler and Russo secretly controlled. The clients thought they were diversifying their wealth. What they were actually doing was funding a scheme that would drain over $107 million across all three victims directly into the pockets of Kurland and his associates. Golden Age. At first, everything looked legitimate. Kurland guided his clients through the standard process, setting up trusts, handling tax filings, advising on how to structure their payouts. He was professional. He was thorough. He was exactly what he advertised himself to be. Then, once the trust was established, the real operation began. The $245 million Powerball winner handed over millions for what Kurland described as safe, diversified investments. The $150 million Powerball winner did the same. And the $1.5 billion Mega Millions winner from South Carolina, who had taken home $877 million in cash, handed over the most of all. Kurland received undisclosed kickbacks from Smukler and Russo every single time he sent client funds their way. He was being paid in secret to betray the people who were paying him openly. And the lifestyle that money funded was not subtle. 2 yachts, a Range Rover, a $73,000 Cadillac Escalade with a personal chauffeur, private jets, a luxury Manhattan apartment costing over $11,000 a month, expensive vacations, country club memberships. Kurland and his associates were living off the winnings of people who had trusted them completely. But the scheme didn't stop at bad investments and hidden kickbacks. It was about to get much darker. Because the moment the whole thing started to unravel didn't come from a suspicious lottery winner. It came from a jeweler who had nothing to do with the lottery at all. The dark twist. Smukler and Russo had taken $250,000 of the stolen lottery money and extended it as a street loan to a jeweler named Gregory Altieri. They demanded $400,000 back. When Altieri couldn't pay, the threats turned violent. Smukler told him, "We are gonna find your wife today." That's happening. Russo went further. He threatened to, and these are his words from recorded calls, pop your head off in front of your kids and do worse things to your wife. He referenced tactical weapons and compared himself to a mob character from a film. This was no longer just financial fraud. It had crossed into something that federal law enforcement could not ignore. Altieri went to the FBI. That decision set off a chain reaction that Kurland never anticipated. Wiretaps went up. Agents started following the money. And what they found was a trail that led directly back to the lottery lawyer himself. In 2020, Jason Kurland was arrested. The federal charges were wire fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, honest services wire fraud, money laundering conspiracy, and money laundering. The indictment described in precise detail how he had used his position of trust to systematically rob the people who had hired him to protect them. The $245 million Powerball winner, the $1.5 billion Mega Millions winner from South Carolina, who alone lost $83 million to him, including $19.5 million that Kurland had directly withdrawn from her account without authorization. The $150 million Powerball winner. All of them were now victims in a federal criminal case. Kurland maintained his innocence. He said he had been deceived by Smukler and Russo, that he was a victim too. But prosecutors had the wire transfers, the kickback payments, the recorded calls, and something Kurland hadn't counted on. His own co-defendants were about to testify against him. The judgment. The trial of Jason Kurland began on July 13, 2022, in federal court in the Eastern District of New York before Judge Nicholas G. Garofis. It lasted 13 days. Prosecutors laid out the full scope of the scheme with methodical precision. They showed how Kurland had first built trust with his clients through legitimate work, then gradually introduced them to the investments controlled by Smukler and Russo. They showed the kickback payments flowing back to Kurland. They showed the wire transfers. They showed the paper trail of a man who had spent years stealing from the most vulnerable people in his client list, people who had suddenly come into enormous wealth and had no idea how to protect it. Christopher Ciarcio, the organized crime associate, had already taken a plea deal before the trial and cooperated with federal prosecutors. His testimony was part of the case that dismantled Kurland's defense from the inside. The jury did not need long to decide. On July 26, 2022, Jason Kurland was convicted on every single count: wire fraud, conspiracy, honest services fraud, money laundering, all of it. But what about the winners themselves? The people who had trusted him with everything. Where did they end up? The $245 million Powerball winner, the $1.5 billion Mega Millions winner, the $150 million Powerball winner. None of their names were ever made public. They remain anonymous, which is both a legal protection and, in this case, a painful reminder of how completely they had been erased from their own story. They won hundreds of millions of dollars. They did everything right. They hired a professional. And they still lost a combined $107 million to the one person who was supposed to prevent exactly that. The sentencing came on June 15, 2023. Judge Garofis sentenced Kurland to 156 months in federal prison, 13 years. He was ordered to forfeit $64.6 million and pay $73.5 million in restitution to his victims. 3 years of supervised release would follow after his prison term. The lottery lawyer brand, the interviews, the reputation, all of it is gone. What remains is a federal conviction, a prison cell, and a cautionary tale that every lottery winner should hear before they cash a single check. Because here's the truth this story leaves behind. Winning the lottery doesn't just put a target on your back from strangers. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one sitting across the desk, wearing a suit, and handing you a business card that says he's here to help. If this story shocked you, wait until you see what happened to the lottery winners who never even made it to a lawyer's office. Our next video covers the cases that went from jackpot to tragedy in a matter of months. You won't want to miss it.